is Today is the 2021 Mass Awards presentation community chat. I would like to begin today by acknowledging that I'm coming to you from the traditional lands referred to as Treaty 4 territory, and acknowledge that Regina is located on Treaty 4 territory. Mass's work and support reaches lands covered by Treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, the traditional lands of the Cree, Dakota, Dene, Lakota, Nakota, and Saulteaux people, as well as homeland of the Métis. Our recognition of this land is an act of reconciliation and an expression of our gratitude to those whose territory we reside on and or are visiting. We respect and honor the treaties that were made on all territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we are committed to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous nations in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I would also like to acknowledge that tomorrow, September 30th, is the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Although federal statutory holidays are only legally binding on federal employees and others governed by the Labor Code of Canada and aren't binding on other jurisdictions, it does provide an opportunity for all Canadians to reflect on a dark chapter in Canada's history. On what was known as Orange Shirt Day, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation encourages all Canadians to remember and honor the victims and the survivors of residential school system and their families and communities that continue to bear the burden of this tragic chapter of Canada's history. In keeping with the spirit of this day, Mass recognizes September 30th as National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Now, I'd like to welcome you all to this week's community chat, where we are so excited to be presenting the 2021 Mass Awards. In the before times, normally we would present the awards at our annual conference at a special awards luncheon. But of course, that was canceled along with most everything else in the past 18 months. Nonetheless, we are thrilled to be recognizing excellence in Saskatchewan museums today, together with all of you. There are several awards categories that we're going to present today. The Award of Merit Institutional, which is actually two awards, one for projects with a budget under $50,000 and one for projects with a budget over $50,000. This award recognizes outstanding projects and achievements of institutional Mass members. The next is Award of Merit Individual, which recognizes lasting and significant contributions by an individual or group of individuals at the local level. It's a special day because we will actually be presenting 3 outstanding individuals with this award today. And the Young Professional Award, which recognizes the efforts of an outstanding young professional that has made great strides and contributions to the museum community, as well as the Honorary Lifetime Achievement Award. The Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to an individual in recognition of their outstanding contributions and demonstrated long-term commitment to advancing museums, art galleries, eco-museums, and/or heritage communities in Saskatchewan. This person is recognized by their peers as having made inspirational, significant, long-lasting impacts in the museum sector, and they will have advocated for the goals and values of the Museums Association of Saskatchewan throughout their career. But before we get started with the awards presentations, I'd like to take a few minutes to acknowledge a staff milestone. It's my pleasure to present the 10-year-long service award to our Director of Programs, Dan Hallbrow. Dan has been instrumental in ensuring that our professional development and training programs continue to provide members with the best learning opportunities possible on the wide range of topics needed by the museum sector in Saskatchewan. He is also always willing to provide whatever assistance he can to colleagues and members of MASS. Congratulations and thank you, Dan. We gave him his actual award when we got together for the first time in 18 months. Oh, look, see, there he's got it right with him. We came to my house and sat out on the patio earlier this summer, so thought it was appropriate to let everybody know about Dan's milestone. And now on to the presentation of the awards. Award of Merit Institutional Project Budget under 50,000. This year, the award goes to the Indian Head Museum for their t-shirt fundraiser. In the winter of 2021, the Indian Head Museum Merchandise Committee was looking for a way to help raise funds during COVID-19. The museum did not open during the 2020 season, and the much needed revenue generated from visitor donations was missing. The committee decided to focus on a t-shirt fundraiser, including a historic business, Leo's Barber and Billiards, the museum's home, the Fire Hall, and Métis Family Métis Proud. The results of the project exceeded expectations, not only raising funds with not one but 2 t-shirt runs, but rekindling warm memories about a family-run business, appreciating the architecture of their historic building, and recognizing the community contributions of the Métis community. The concept to have the t-shirt fundraiser came from an idea of having a safe way to hold a fundraiser during COVID-19. They had to think about designs that the community would really get excited about and support. It was hard to decide on just one idea, so they decided to have 3. The first would look at resurrecting a historical logo from a local business that had left an impact in the community, Leo's Barber and Billiards. Leo and his wife, Lena, ran the business, Haircuts and Pool, in town for over 40 years. They helped raise generations of kids in the community. Leo had passed away a few years ago, but Lena was still alive, and the museum made sure that they had her permission before proceeding. And when she learned it was a fundraiser for the museum, she supported the idea. In talking with Lena, it became a trip down memory lane for her and the museum. Had the opportunity to hear about her time running the pool hall with Leo. After hearing her stories, it was easy to understand why Leo's was so important to the community. It seemed more important to feature this business, as the pool hall was slated to be demolished sometime in 2021. The physical building was about to be erased from the community, and the t-shirt was a way to honor the couple, their business, and the connections and relationships they made with the local community. The second t-shirt design was a replica blueprint of the historic fire hall. Indian Head has a long history of fire protection in the community, with the building being constructed in 1907. By bringing the fire hall to a t-shirt form, it initiated dialogue and stories about the fire hall. The third t-shirt design is to recognize and acknowledge the contributions of the Métis members of the Indian Head and surrounding area. The museum has been actively changing its conversation to include the Indigenous community and bring representation through exhibitions, collecting oral history, and striving to have board members of Indigenous descent. The shirt presents the infinity symbol representing the Métis Nation, strength, culture, and pride. The campaign was launched, and within a week, the Leo shirt was sold out. The community requested to have a second run, and so they took pre-orders and in total sold over 100 shirts. Order pickups were at the museum, and some people had not stepped inside for years. They were interested to see the renovations, and most importantly, they had stories to share about Leo's. It was by far the shirt that made the most impact on the community. When they talked about their time at Leo's, they became kids again. The Indian Head Museum brought a piece of their story back to life. It was amazing to see how a t-shirt could create so much pride renewed interest, and engagement in the museum. And with that, I would like to pass it over to the Indian Head Museum Merchandise Committee, Robin Jensen, Janine Moses Randall, and Armand Palmer to accept the award and say a few words.
I'm here representing Robin and Janine and Armand, and to thank you for giving Indian Head Museum this honor. I think Robin and Janine and Armand would love to be here today to accept it themselves, but unfortunately they couldn't be here, and they asked me to do that honor for them. So thank you very much. I think you've said it all in your speech, and I just want to say again, we really appreciate this award.
Thanks, Linda. Okay, now on to the Award of Merit Institutional over $50,000. Our next award goes to the Melfort and District Museum for their Indigenous Peoples and Archaeology building. Over the past 5 years, the Melfort and District Museum, MDM, has worked in the spirit of reconciliation to create an Indigenous exhibit that encompasses the Plains history of the area. Through a strategic planning process and calls to action identified in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report, the museum board and staff set about initiating significant result in matters relating to Indigenous inclusivity. Through contact with the Saskatchewan Archaeological Society and Dr. David Meyer, Professor Emeritus at the University of Saskatchewan, the MDM became aware of a family collection of pre-contact and historical archaeological artifacts that had been collected years ago in the Melfort area. Through a memorandum of understanding with the SAS, the MDM, the family donated the collection of over 3,000 artifacts with the goal to identify, catalog, record, interpret, curate, preserve, and respectfully exhibit them. Financial support from the Herzig Morgan family was matched by the MDM, allowing for the repurposing of a self-contained building that became the Indigenous Peoples and Archaeology building. With interpretive leadership from professional archaeologists, this exciting exercise evolved with the assistance of interns, summer students, and interested volunteers. Ongoing efforts to identify, inform, and involve local Indigenous people from the area continued in good faith with encouraging results. Through financial support from Northern Lights Community Development Corporation, the MDM successfully engaged local Indigenous artists for artwork for the building. As the Herzig Morgan collection matured, it caught the attention of another local avocational archaeologist who had, as a young man on his farm, collected and documented an astonishingly significant collection of artifacts. At the age of 98, Tom Smith generously arranged for the MDM to acquire, catalog, and interpret his collection of 2,000 artifacts for display within the new Indigenous Peoples and Archaeology building. The Indigenous Peoples and Archaeology building has become a crowning exhibit within the museum grounds. It features Indigenous inclusivity with documented archaeological significance. The MDM provides visitors with a glimpse of life on the ancient plains, their culture, tool use, and the modern methods with which archaeologists uncover artifacts and seek to understand a way of life that cannot be easily encompassed within textbooks or schoolrooms. Normally, museums ask visitors not to touch the exhibits, but the Indigenous Peoples and Archaeology building goes against that golden rule by allowing visitors to touch and handle some of the artifacts via a touch box, a simulated archaeological excavation, and an accessible replica teepee. Thus, the MDM is attempting to preserve both the tangible and intangible culture of Indigenous people. The inclusion of significant displays of Métis beads bead, and leather artifacts, along with Indigenous artwork, create a comfortable environment in which anyone with a mind of wonder can consider striking examples of First Nations and Métis heritage. And with that, I would like to pass it over to the Melfort Museum's Gail Marie Anderson to say a few words and accept the award. Think you're muted, Gail Marie. There we
Doug
go.
Chisholm is supposed to speak on our behalf. Doug, are you here? And you're muted. So Doug prepared something for the, oh, no, maybe he's,
Are you there, Doug?
Hi there.
okay,
Hello,
you're on.
I have been able to link up. I'm up north. Can you? I'm
can
here.
hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, we
All
can
right,
hear you.
great. Yeah, I've had a little bit of, well, it's a bit, it's not, okay, that's good. That's good. Well, I'm up north. I'm not in Melfort. I'm north of Larange, about 30 miles, and I'm on a cell phone, so it's a little different. But I'm delighted to be part of the board of directors at the Melfort District Museum and also the Saskatchewan Archaeological Society. And so there's a collaboration that's happened here, and this has really been it's been a great project. It's gone on for a number of years, and we're not done. This is the pieces of the puzzle come from many different sources, and it's wonderful when you can work collaboratively with others who share in the interest in history and the connection to our past, and the journey down the road of reconciliation. And it's a long journey, and it's interesting and worthwhile. And I'm really delighted to be part of it. It's through strategic planning and the likes within the organization and support from SAS Culture, communities can go down this road. We can work together and develop stronger bonds with our neighbors, with the Indigenous communities, and explore the history that goes back, in this case, as far as 9,000 years. And we look forward to the opportunity of our communities of James Smith and Kinniston, First Nations groups, to the schools and the people to come and consider this history that goes back so far in time.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you very
great.
much for this. Okay.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And I would like to say thank you to Mass for the honor of bestowing this award on us. We really appreciate it. And many of the people that worked on the Indigenous Peoples and Archaeology exhibit are on today, and I applaud them for their partnership. So thank you, everybody.
Terrific. Congratulations. Our next award is the Award of Merit Individual. And as I mentioned previously, we're thrilled to be presenting this award to 3 deserving people today. The first of whom is Christy, Chris, Brayford, Arnstead. As a lifelong seasonal resident in Waskesiu, Chris Arnstead has extensive personal knowledge of the community and Prince Albert National Park, which she shares through her volunteer work with various organizations. Currently the curator of the Waskesiu Heritage Museum, WHM, she creates the displays and handles the acquisition and cataloging. She conducts and records oral history interviews. She organizes events with the annual Heritage Days, the celebration of the 90th anniversary of Prince Albert National Park, events demonstrating intangible cultural heritage, and programming for target audiences. Although the WHM is a seasonal museum, Chris works year-round on museum matters. She developed the first website for the museum and has upgraded it since. She handles traditional advertising and social media channels and has a growing following of people on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with whom she interacts. She created an audio guide with handheld devices to explain key artifacts in the displays for visitors. She applies for grants and this year applied for and received a Tourism Saskatchewan grant to leverage technology and launch an online guide she created called Heritage Moments, featuring historic locations in Waskesiu. Heritage Moments is a project Chris created to make an accessible electronic guide to historic locations in the town site of Waskesiu. The content, stories, videos, audio files, archive photos, and information are housed on a website linked to the main museum website. People visiting Waskesiu can access the information appropriate to their exact location by using their smartphone's camera to scan the QR code on an eye-catching round sign. 41 locations are featured in depth and 32 signs were designed and hung at locations with the approval of local businesses and organizations. She also designed a brochure containing an interpretive map, which is available for free at multiple locations in town for those who want to do a walking tour. For those interested in accessing heritage moments from home, all the information is available on a dedicated website called www.waskesiuheritagemoments.org. We'll post that in the chat afterwards and you can check it out. The main objective of Heritage Moments was to move history out of the museum and offer it to people in small, entertaining amounts in locations where they are as they move around the town site on their holidays. Another objective of the project was to share with the public the rich collection of photos from Parks Canada archives, as well as the entertaining stories, information, oral history interviews, and other media from the WHM collection. This project was planned to appeal to all ages and family groups as an outside activity during the pandemic, but its use and appeal is definitely not limited to pandemic times. Since the museum buildings were closed to visitors for a period, it became a way to connect with visitors during the pandemic. I'd now like to pass it over to Chris to accept the award and say a few words.
Thank you, Wendy. I like to do project work for the Waskesiu Heritage Museum. There's a huge group of people who love Prince Albert National Park and have so many happy memories of their holidays there for many decades. And they entrust special items and stories to the museum, and I have the privilege of working with these. My pandemic project last winter was Heritage Moments. Thanks to Tourism Saskatchewan and a grant, I was able to hire a graphic designer and a web developer to realize my ideas for Heritage Moments. I'd like to thank Parks Canada for the use of the images and community members for hosting the signs for Heritage Moments. M. Ironstar for her encouragement, Gary Provencher for this nomination, my great museum board members for their support of all my ideas and schemes, and my husband Derwin, who's my #1 fan, sounding board, and helper. I hope this project will inspire other museums with how easy it is to use very simple technology to take your stories outside the four walls of your museum and into the community where a whole new demographic can encounter and enjoy them. Thanks very much to MOST for this award. I'm very pleased and proud. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And now for our second recipient of the Individual Award of Merit, John and Linda Kort from the Indian Head Museum. John and Linda Kort are the dynamic duo that have been actively involved with the museum since 2010. During their time at the Indian Head Museum, they have not only performed various roles, but have committed themselves to in-depth understanding by performing research, taking university classes, being actively involved in the Museums Association of Saskatchewan and the Saskatchewan Council of Archives and Archivists. They advocated change to include in the Indian Head Museum mandate the local Indigenous, Métis, and First Nations peoples, and bring forth the ideas of creating a functional local archive for research. Through their meaningful commitment to the museum, John and Linda have helped contribute to the community narrative by bringing important parts of its history to life. Their footprint will be appreciated by locals, researchers, and visitors for many years to come. Linda Kort, a retired teacher, wore many hats over the years. She was secretary, program coordinator, wrote many grant applications, gave presentations, and helped with the general upkeep of the museum. One of her most recent accomplishments was the Métis Oral History Project. John, a retired biologist from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, jumped into the museum volunteer work. He is truly a jack of all trades, just as Linda is, wearing all kinds of hats at the Indian Head Museum. John was president for 5 years, grant writer, fundraiser, and maintenance man. His passion shines through in research and storytelling. Both John and Linda officially retired from the board in January 2021. But have stayed on in an advisory role to help mentor the new members and continue to help work on individual projects. These are just a few of the highlights of the work they have done over the years, but there's so much more that they would quietly do without any hesitation or complaint. John and Linda are well known and respected in museum circles for their commitment to Indian Head and the museum. They truly are one of the keepers of the knowledge at the museum, and the newer board members are so appreciative of their continued support after their retirement. They are amazing people and amazing volunteers. I'd like now to pass it over to John and Linda to accept the award and to say a few words.
John wishes he could be here today. I'm accepting the award on his behalf and on mine. I would like to thank Robin Jensen and Janine Moses Randall for nominating us for this award. I'd also like to acknowledge that we live on land that we consider Treaty 4, and that act of reconciliation of acknowledging the land, that was one of the things that was taught by Mass and modeled by Mass. And I have a lot of thanksgiving for all that has been taught to us over the years. When we were first new to the Indian Head Museum Board, we would often wonder if Mass could do something for us. But instead of giving us a fish, we got a fishing rod and we were taught how to fish. And there's so much we learned from Mass. Thank you, Wendy, and everyone there. And I just want to say, Dan, over the years, has given us so much to work with. He gave us a strategic planning session where he taught us that less is more. Instead of setting many goals for a year, you should set one goal for 3 years. He taught us a lot about governance. I still remember when we went in and said, you know, Dan, I think we're going to have to change the bylaw that says that we can only stay in our roles for a certain length of time because we don't have anyone to take over for us, and we're pretty much have to do it ourselves. And he said, I think you can step down. I think somebody else. and you know, it's been really great that we have young blood and new blood. And I want to say these young people that have taken over have really outdone themselves. And I just want to thank them again for nominating us.
Thanks,
all.
Linda, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And now the Young Professional Award. The winner of the Young Professional Award this year is Justin Williams from the RCMP Heritage Center. Justin Williams is a passionate individual who takes pride in pushing himself to innovate the educational experience within the cultural sector. Originally from Ottawa and a graduate of both Acadia University and Algonquin College, Justin enjoys meeting people from all over Canada, hearing their stories and being able to relate those stories to any subject matter. Allowing yourself to be a little silly also helps when talking with any age group, just as long as you make their experience memorable. That's the real reason everybody is in this field, isn't it? Now, Education and Public Programs Coordinator for the RCMP Heritage Center, Justin has worn many hats in the museum field. Prior to moving to Saskatchewan to begin his career with the Heritage Center in 2019, Justin served as Visitor Services Coordinator and Education Assistant for the Diefenbunker, Canada's Cold War Museum, and Educational Program Interpreter for the Canadian Museum of Nature. Outside of work, he can often be found volunteering his time coaching children's sports teams, competing in rec leagues, or researching and recording for his own podcast, Sports Unite. Experienced in both front and back of house operation, Justin has been a model supervisor and mentor to all members of his team over the years. Not only that, but he has been an absolute pleasure to work with on collaborative projects between organizations. Open to new ideas, thinking outside the box, and also always one to lend a hand, Justin Williams has demonstrated a level of passion and integrity rarely seen in the museum sector. Joining the RCMP Heritage Center in the fall of 2019, Justin has rejuvenated educational and family programming while also bringing a level of enthusiasm and creativity that is difficult to match. By demonstrating their relevance throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Justin and his colleagues have captured the attention of audiences across Canada and internationally. Fully appreciating that a museum must demonstrate relevance, Justin has sought to inspire growth and change alongside their audience, enabling social interaction and participative engagement in a time of isolation and quarantine. This was no easy task, but it was one that Justin met head on and not only succeeded, but thrived. Museum workers understand that the organization in which they work and volunteer has the ability to create unity, whether politically, socially, or locally, but they also hold the capacity to shape our society. This is a concept that is demonstrated in nearly every task Justin sets his mind to. Do not be fooled by his playful social media posts dressed as Monty the Moose while on adventure with social media sensation Indy, the Heritage Center dog. Just because he believes in the power of the museum does not mean he's a stranger to fun. During the past year and a half, Justin has endeavored to develop and share his experience, knowledge, and skills by participating in mass community chats, while also reaching out to schools, community groups, and assisted living facilities. In fact, thanks to the initiative of Justin and his co-workers, the RCMP Heritage Center saw over 7,000 virtual tour participants during the pandemic, a staggering amount given the limitations that the pandemic placed upon all institutions and communities. Not only that, but the virtual tours offered by Justin reached across the country and outside of Canada. And now I would like to invite Justin to say a few words and accept his award. Justin.
Wow, those words definitely were not written by me, because that was a lot more than I could ever remember. And yeah, I'm just so blown away by everyone's support. You know, not being from Saskatchewan, I was met with open arms, and this community was great. The Heritage Center welcomed me, you know, not even knowing the names of streets other than the ones that I had to drive on to get to work and get back to where I was living. And then add on top of that a pandemic. It was, everyone put their minds together and came together and were willing to collaborate. And the fact that I got an award that has the word young in it, because I get teased that I'm old already, gives me a little bit of clout. I can point and be like, it says I'm young. But just thank you to everyone. Thank you to the community. Thank you to Mass. Thank you to Dana for nominating me, everyone that I get to work with at the Heritage Center and in my past. And I'm always open and looking for collaboration. You need a mascot, you need help, always willing. And it's a huge honor to be part of this community right out of the gate. So thank you.
Thanks, Justin, and congratulations. We'll talk later about the costume thing.
Okay, thank you.
Last but not least, we will present our final award, the Honorary Lifetime Achievement Award. This year's award goes to Chad Diebert. I'd like to pass it over to Mass's president, Marissa Scarlett, to present Chad with his award. Marissa?
Thanks, Wendy. Well, I was very excited to present this award to Chad. I believe he was my board buddy back when I first started on the board. So this is a very cool thing to present him with. So Chad has been involved in the museum field since the 1990s, becoming the executive director of the Bigger Museum and Gallery in 1999. His museum career evolved with a stint at the WDM, Moose Jaw, as museum technician, followed by time spent as a preparator for the RCMP historical unit. For the past 8 years, Chad has been the assistant manager, exhibits and collections at Government House. He has always been an active participant in a wide range of Mass activities, including the networks, special interest groups, community chats, and as an MGP jury member in 2006 and 2007. He has also attended over 50 Mass professional development courses and workshops, including 9 certificate program courses. In addition, he's also taught the collections management certificate program course twice in 2006 and 2007. Chad began his involvement with boards and committees while in Bigger, where he served on the Bigger and District Arts Council, the Majestic Theatre, the Bear Hills Economic Development Office, and the Bigger and District Community Foundation, among others. Chad has served on the Mass Board of Directors on 2 separate occasions. First, from 2000 to 2004, and then 8 years later, in 2012, Chad was again elected to the Mass Board, serving for 2 terms. During his first stint on the board, he served as president for 1 term, the year 2003-2004. As president, he represented Mass both nationally and provincially, most notably with the Canadian Museums Association's provincial tutorial meetings at the national level, and as part of SaskCulture's Heritage Committee, which was the precursor to Heritage Saskatchewan. Chad stepped down from the Mass Board in 2004 to take on the position of interim executive director when the ED Joan Kennigan went on a year-long sabbatical. He continues his leadership in Saskatchewan's heritage sector as a member of the Heritage Saskatchewan Board of Directors, where he is serving his 2nd term. And now I'd like to invite Chad to say a few words and accept the 2021 Honorary Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow, thanks, Marissa. Some of those numbers are, I think, a bit askew. They kind of shocked me. Congratulations to all of today's recipients, first off, and to even be considered for this award kind of throws me a bit. I'm very thankful, and I know some of the past recipients, and I'm super humbled to be on the same list as them. Educated in Alberta, working in BC, my shift to the museum community came with that opportunity in rural Saskatchewan in '99. This path was not realized until after forays in architecture, estimating, and manufacturing. And it was at the behest of family, actually, that I volunteered at the Bigger Museum and Gallery to help with an exhibit, which thankfully led to the job, which of course led to Mass. And in Mass, I found a wonderful organization that helped me learn, grow, and thrive in this community. Being involved with Mass as a committee member, board member, student, or teacher has always brought me joy. And over the years, I've tried to extol the virtues of Mass and direct people to access the services, take the courses, or get involved on the board. And I think some people even listen to me. I can never say enough good things about the work the organization does or the staff and volunteers that I've worked with. I've met some truly outstanding people along the way, people that are always willing to give their time and expertise, people that never stop showing their passion or creativity, as evident today, people that I call mentors, collaborators, and friends. Now, this being an acceptance speech, I think it's protocol to thank specific people. And even if that wasn't protocol, these people will get the nod. Now for some name dropping. Dean Bosch, Andrew Whiting, Jennifer Fitzpatrick, Sheila Kelly, and Kathy Fitton were all fellow volunteers with Mass, and they sort of ignited that passion in me early on. Past and current Mass EDs, Joan Canagan and Wendy Fitch, and of course, all the other board members and staff that I've served with. I'd also like to thank the organizations and people I've worked with over the years, the Bigger Museum and Gallery, the Western Development Museum, the RCMP Heritage Center, and of course, Government House. They all saw and continue to see the value of Mass and all that it has to offer. And I like to think that I've left a little bit of me in each of those organizations. And lastly, the family that encouraged me to shift gears, my parents and grandmother. Not only were they super supportive, but also, you know, they birthed me, so no big deal. Thank you very much to everybody, and thank you for Mass for the award.
Thank you and congratulations, Chad. And I'll be dropping off your award very soon at
Thank you.
Government House for you. And as always, today's session has been recorded and will be posted to the Mass YouTube site very shortly. Thanks all of those in the Saskatchewan Museum community for your hard work and dedication. Thank you to the nominators for bringing these efforts to light to be recognized by Mass and their peers across Saskatchewan. It's an honor each year to review the applications, highlighting the great work that is being done. I'd like to invite everyone back to our next community chat, which are held bi-weekly. The next chat will be held on Wednesday, October 13th at 10 a.m., where we will be joined by Carol Lafayette Boyd, Volunteer Executive Director of the Saskatchewan African Canadian Heritage Museum, SACM, who will discuss the purpose and development of the SACM Virtual Museum that was established in 2005. Thanks everyone for helping us celebrate the accomplishments of the Saskatchewan Museum sector. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.